Hi guys, it's Monday. I'm Mikey. I know I've been really crappy at doing these lately. I swear I'm going to get better at it soon. I'm going to start making my videos in advance instead of getting to Saturday and then being like, shit, where did my time go? But for this week, I'm going to try and do my entire video and not screw anything up, which I've already done, and not have to edit it. So let's try this. When did I find out about transgenderism? I do not consider myself transgender. I consider myself transsexual. So I did not find out about transgenderism per se. I found out about transsexualism, which is what the word was in the article that I initially read, as far as I know, and is the word that I continue to identify with, and is the word that I used when I did all my research on it. I found out, this is really embarrassing, but by reading a terrible, crappy, Take 5 magazine, and they're these, ridiculous, my baby was dead for 3 days, or, my cat saved my life stories. And there was this one which was about this pair of twins who were both female assigned at birth, and one of them had gone on to end up being a trans guy. And I remember reading it, and I think I kind of, denied it for a little while at first. But within, I don't know, shortly thereafter, I kind of went back and reread the article and was like, yeah, you know what, this is it, this is me. This is what I've been thinking for the last however long. Thank fuck I'm not crazy. This is an actual thing. And then I proceeded to waltz right on back into the closet because it was fucking terrifying. Especially considering this article that I just read where, these people were talking all about these horrible, things that they've had to go through and the way it was so difficult for their family and all these physical issues and hating themselves and all this horrible stuff. And I was like, well, I don't want to be trans. I'm not doing this. And then I ended up coming out maybe a month or two later when it kind of dawned on me that I could not actually just pretend that I was a girl because it was not working. The box was open, everything was out, and I just had to kind of run around and catch it and put it together and be like, okay, so I think I'm a dude. My initial impression was probably, I won't say pity, I'll say empathy, because at that stage I did kind of have some idea that not everything was right with my body and my identity and that not everything kind of added up. And I just felt really terrible. I felt really terrible that someone had to go through such an awful experience. I felt so terrible that people continue to have to go through that awful experience. And then I felt really terrible thinking about the fact that that was going to be my experience because I couldn't help but identify this way. Unfortunately, I did not, I didn't really have a mentor when I first came out because I found out through this magazine and I did a lot of Googling. And I found out a lot of information in terms of legal transition, in terms of medical transition, but I didn't find any kind of support. There weren't really very good support sites. There weren't very many forums that I found at that time. And believe me, I was an internet savvy young 14-year-old. There was nowhere like Tumblr where I, could go and find other people like me. And it was just incredibly isolating. So my first impression was that I was trans. It was horrible because I'd seen what this guy had gone through and that I was a total freak of nature. I recently found this this document from when I was 14, 15 years old, and it was like a flowchart about sexual health. And one of the questions was, when I have sex, no, it wasn't even that. It was, when I'm in a relationship, will I have sex? And I had answered no, never. Because at that stage, I truly believed that I was so revolting and so hideous and such a freak for being trans, because I had very little exposure to anyone else who was trans, other than this one article and a couple of sites online, that I thought that no one would ever want to be with me, that I was truly revolting. And I remember actually thinking that if I ended up with a long-term partner and someone did fall in love with me, I would let them sleep around with whoever they wanted, let them, because I didn't understand polyamory and consensual open relationships at this stage. Because I did not want them to feel sexually unfulfilled, and I could not believe that there could possibly be a way that they could be attracted to me. I was a 14-year-old and I was walking around carrying this inside of me, and then people wondered why I chopped all my hair off and dyed it black and cried to Panic at the Disco a lot. There you go. So in short, my first impression of being trans was that it was a terrible, horrible, but also inescapable thing. Thankfully, that impression has changed massively over time. I mean, I still do not think of being trans as a positive thing for me. I know there are people that embrace it and they think it's the most amazing thing about them and they're, gung-ho, and that's, wonderful. If you can be that kind of happy with yourself, that's brilliant. But unfortunately, I have a lot of physical dysphoria and I have a lot of like emotional scarring basically from the horrible time I had coming out without knowing any other trans people and basically going via this scientific information without any kind of advice on transitioning or passing or how to go about coming out to my schoolmates or my family or my friends. I lost a lot of people, and I just find it really difficult to consider it something that I like about myself. And I don't hate transsexualism or transgenderism or whatever people consider this to be, but I can't not hate that it's about me. Okay, so I failed and I had to edit it one time, but I think that was pretty decent considering that was just one giant long ramble. I didn't pre-plan any of that. Anyway, that is my basic thought process on my discovery of transsexualism or transgenderism and what it meant to me at the time and what it means to me now. And it's really kind of interesting to actually look back and think about that and think about how I viewed it, because it's kind of horrific that I ever felt that way about myself, and at the same time kind of wonderful that I've come so far away from that and I'm able to look at myself in a much more positive light now. Anyway, next week you'll get a nice properly edited video, and I will find some music and it'll be instrumental so that everyone can hear what I'm saying, and it'll be awesome, and I promise you this. And if I don't do it, you can violently kick me over the internet, because we have a public holiday here on the 26th that I don't even celebrate because it's Australia Day / Invasion Day. And I have no desire to get drunk and scream profanities about faux patriotism. So I have an entire day when I can make this video, and if I don't, I want you guys to come to my askbox, telescopics.tumblr.com/ask, and write me an angry letter. Thank you so much for putting up with my massively fail lack of videos recently. I'm still trying to do this day in the life thing. I have failed epically, because I work at the prison, so I can't exactly film my day at work. So I'm still trying to work out exactly how I can illustrate a day in my life when 90% of what I spend my time doing is classified information. I will see you next week with a decent video. Thank you. See you guys later.